Hi guys, welcome to this video. If you are new here, hi, and if you are a returning subscriber, what's up? Today's video is actually going to be something a little bit out of my comfort zone. I've done a few videos out of my comfort zone before, and this is another one that I've really put some thought into and decided, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I personally love watching like ghost stories. I love Haley Reese, Loie Lane, like those type of YouTubers. So now I want to share my personal experience with you guys. Yeah, but I personally do believe in, spirits, a heaven and hell, entities, demons, angels, whatever you want to call it. I personally do believe in it. I was raised Christian Catholic. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make a few different videos of my experiences with ghosts or spirits, because honestly my whole life I feel like I've kind of dealt with it, So I'm not completely sure how I'm going to lay this video out. I'm not sure if I'm going to share different little stories here and there, or if I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm going to do, but let's get started. Let me give you a little bit of background knowledge real quick. This is actually something super interesting. So yeah, my mom tells me if you hear, lawnmowers, air blowers, whatever that is outside, they're working on the house right across the street. And honestly, I don't have time to film this later, so we're just gonna have to power through it. Hopefully through editing you won't be able to hear it that much, but anyways. So when I was a baby in my crib, apparently I would always look up at the ceiling or look around, and my mom and my dad both say that it looked like I was watching something, like my eyes would follow something that they couldn't see. And this would happen all the time when I was a baby, like in my crib or wherever I was at the time in this house. This house is in East Nashville, Tennessee, and I am currently back in East Nashville now. I moved out of East Nashville years ago, and I'm just now coming back. It was a pretty small house. It was a 2-bedroom and 1-bathroom house. It had like 2 living rooms though, so we had like a computer room and a living room, but also in the computer room it was big enough where we had couches in there as well. So let's see. Apparently, a little bit of back knowledge on this house. Apparently, the owner, I think before us, died in that house. And I don't remember if his wife did too, but I know for sure that he did. And apparently, his name was Ben, and his wife's name was Emily. Ben was a cigar smoker. And all throughout that house, sometimes you'll get the most random smell of cigars. And cigars have a very distinct smell where you know it's a cigar. Nobody in that house, which was me, my mom, and my dad, or me and my mom most times, nobody smoked cigars. So that was extremely, extremely strange. Another thing that would happen is you will hear 3 knocks, like, and you'll hear it at the door, and it's so loud you'll hear it throughout the whole entire house. That would always freak me out. And actually, learning a little bit more about spirits and stuff, this is not true in all cases, but 3 knocks can be bad, and it can tie in with like demonic presences. So knowing that now like really freaks me out, but it did freak me out pretty bad back in the day as well. Another thing, we had a pretty nice backyard. Like, it was really long because we had a house like literally right next to us, and there wasn't that much space between us, but we had a super long backyard. It wasn't wide, just long. And so here's the house. Just imagine the house right here. A little bit behind the house is a garage, and then back in the very back is like fence, caged in area for our dog. And I had a swing set at one point and also a trampoline at one point in that backyard. So like, it was a pretty nice spacious backyard. In the garage that we had, I am 100% positive there were some very, very evil entities in that garage, because like my dog JJ would never go in that garage, ever. It started accumulating flies over the time, and it was always super dark in there. Spiders, spider webs. It was always super hot in there. The floor was like dirt, and it was very bumpy. This is something I probably should have told at the beginning of the video, but I'm just now remembering because I don't write down scripts for my videos or whatever, so this is all coming back to me right now. Apparently that house was built on a Indian burial ground, so I believe, you know, whoever was buried, you know, where the garage is, was very evil. And my dog would not go in there even when it rained. He would prefer to stand out in the rain than go in the garage. Like, there's been times where me and my mom would literally force our dog into that garage and he'll run out right away. He would put up a fight when we would try to put him in there. Like, he'd tug against us. The TV, we only had one TV in the house. I didn't grow up with the TV in my room or in my mom's room. We only had one TV, and it was in the living room. And that TV would turn on and off by itself all the time. The TV did not have a timer on it. The only time the TV had a timer on it is when my dad would stay over. But that wasn't often. It was at first when he would stay over, but like growing up, it's like less he would come. Whatever, anyways. So the TV will literally change channels and turn on and off by itself. And you know, that's freaky, whatever, but honestly, when you grow up around that type of activity, you kind of just get numb to it. Like, if you're watching it and the TV turns off, you just get up and turn the TV back on and come lay back down. Like, it's eventually not a big deal anymore. But at first, it was a big deal. It was scary. Like, I personally always felt like I was being watched. And that was a feeling that I could never overcome. We left that house when I was like, what, 12, 13, something like that. So I was in that house for the first 12 to 13 years of my life. And, you know, you kind of just get immune to what happens around you. That doesn't make it any less scary. It just doesn't bother you anymore. When I was in that house, I feel like I would have a lot of spiritual dreams. A lot of them were really vivid, and a lot of them actually have scarred me till today. Like, there's some dreams that I've had in that house that I will literally never be able to say out loud without crying. So honestly, I'm not sure if that had anything to do with whatever was in that house, but, you know, I'm just throwing that out there. So in that house, you would also hear a lot of footsteps or creaks or bangs that are unexplainable. So going back to the fact that that house was built on a Indian burial ground, my mom tells me this story on and off like all the time. So we were about to leave for, I think, my first day of kindergarten or my first day of like first grade. All I know is it was my first day for something at school. And apparently, I don't really remember this, but my mom has told it to me so many times that like I can say it as if I do remember it. Because, like, how old are you at that time? Like, what? 6? 5? 4? 5? I don't know. Me and my mom were about to leave, so she would drop me to school and she was gonna go to work. So I came outside, and she says that I started talking to something that she couldn't see with her eyes, but I could obviously see, and it was making itself known to me. And apparently what I was seeing, and what I told my mom at the time, was I was seeing a little Indian girl. And, you know, my mom didn't believe me. You know, she was asking like what its name was, because she was like, oh, she's probably gonna make up a name and it's not gonna be like Native American or whatever, and she was gonna go on with her day. Here I am, 4 or 5 or 6, I don't know, I don't remember, 4 or 5 or 6, and I have no knowledge of anything Native American, really, honestly. Like, I'm Native, I have 2 different tribes in my blood, but honestly, I wasn't raised that way, you know? So, I come out with this name, and it completely sets my mom back, because it doesn't sound like a bullshit ass name. She doesn't remember it. If she remembered it, I would, you know, leave it in here, but she doesn't remember what I said. She just remembered that it sounded super authentic, and yeah, it took her back. So apparently after I told her the name, the little girl told me like, hey, can I go inside? And big mistake, if a spirit or entity ever asks you to go inside your house, you say no. No, 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 because you don't truly know if that spirit is good or bad. And well, my mom didn't know anything about that, so she said yes. I think I'm just going to say a little bit about our last few months living there, because that's when everything got out of control. That's when, like, just, it was so scary. Like, I'm so glad we're not there, and I'm so glad we got out in time and unhurt, you know, like, thank God. So the last few months there, it just went downhill so quickly. This was my mom's house. She owned this house. The whole house filled with a disgusting death smell mixed with, like, the pipes, basically. And it was just like an awful smell throughout the house, and we couldn't get it out. No matter how long we left the windows open, no matter what we sprayed, that smell was just so prominent and was not going away. Next thing that happened that was super freaky is we started getting a lot of flies in the house. It was disgusting how many flies were in the house. Like, you would look at the window and there'd be so many flies just like on the window chilling, and we would kill some and just more would come, and we didn't understand how they were getting in here, and we couldn't understand why we couldn't get them out. It's like if we got some out the next day, we'd come back and there would be ×2 there. So as you're in the house, because there's so many flies in that house, walking through like the hallway or wherever you're walking through, you will hear the buzzing of all the flies there. It was so strange. And the main room that they like basically took over was our dining room table, I guess that's what you want to call it. We called it the white table room because that's what we ate on, was a white table. So and that is also the room that apparently Ben, the past owner, died in. Little freaky. I just got some chills right now. So now I'm going to tell you about possibly the scariest day in that house, and that was the day that we were leaving. Well, more like the night we were leaving. I remember this like it was yesterday. It was so intense. Like, my heart is speeding up just thinking about it. Okay, so the whole day, you know, we're packing up the U-Haul and all that, and now it is nighttime. I believe we were there super late at night. Not too sure, but it was definitely like past 10, I believe. We were super tired, you know, we're just loading what we want with us in our car, and we were about to leave. We were about to go to our new house. So the whole time that I was outside waiting for my mom, I just felt like a super dark presence around me, and once again I felt like I was being watched, and whatever was watching was angry, and that's just what I felt off of it. And so I started off waiting in the car, but because of the feeling that I had, I got out of the car and I went to my mom. So this is the part that just freaks me out, and you don't have to believe it. I can get her in here to say it as well. She was shutting the door to lock it so we could leave and never come back. And literally, she was having like a tug of war with the door, trying to shut it. And there was only me and her there. That was humans, you know. Whatever entity, which now I'm pretty sure was a demon, or something just not of the light, was trying to stop her from shutting and locking the door. And it was just like it was visible, like the back and forth that my mom and that thing were doing. And then all of a sudden, we have a light right next to the door. And this light is literally like 5 to 6 inches away from my mom's face. It explodes. The light is on, and the light bulb itself explodes. And then my mom can shut the door. And we ran to the car, and we got out. Alright, so I decided to get my mom to talk on camera for you guys, because honestly, that was such a story that sounds so far-fetched and sounds like something that is in a movie, something that doesn't really happen in real life, but my mom's right here to prove that I'm not lying. So, tell us about when you tried to shut the door for us to leave and what happened.
Well, there's more to it than just that. I just remember that night we were moving to leave our home, and several things went wrong. But when we lived there, we were experiencing a lot of things that just weren't right. And one of them was the light over my head outside on the patio. That shattered.
It exploded over her head.
Yeah, it shattered over my head. And so we were in total darkness, trying to move into our household furniture into the U-Haul trailer. It was a big one. So now we're in the dark trying to load up. And that exploded right over my head. And then the next thing was, my daughter was a little kid at the time, and I knew that the place was full of demons. I put her in the back seat of the car just to get her out of that house. And I was scared for her. I mean, I could see her from the patio in the backyard, and the car was in the backyard. But I knew that nobody's safe on that land. And so it was late. By the time the movers came late, I think it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning by the time we got through loading up it was like a 24-foot U-Haul. And I was locking the back door for the last time. And something was pulling on the door. So it was an actual fight.
Tug of war.
It was a tug of war to get that door shut. Several times something would yank it, you pull it away from me, and I'd pull back, and they'd pull the door back, and I'd pull it back towards me.
And it was like a little battle that went on for a good like 10-15 seconds, right?
Well, yeah. And I mean, things like that just don't happen. It was just real obvious to me they didn't want us to leave the property. Because then the last step was, so now it's so late, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I start the engine to my car. It's dead.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yes, it was dead. It did not want us to leave the property.
Like, that's crazy. She never had like problems with her car dying before.
No. In fact, the whole thing was just real clear. It was like that movie, Amityville Horror. And that's an old movie, so many of y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. But so then, after my car wouldn't start, then I'm having to go to my neighbor's 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, something like that. I'm banging on the door to borrow jumper cables to get off the land, and then we could finally leave the land. But we had so many incidents with that house. My groceries caught on fire on the stove.
Yes.
Sometimes the land is just bad land for whatever reason, and there's evil trapped on that land. I remember our dog would even get close to that garage.
That's what I also told as well. Look into the history of your house before you move there first.
Well, no, look into the history of the land. Like, we ended up we moved to the next city, and it turns out, of all things, I got us a place where the
soldiers.
The Civil War was fought.
So the first house, we were on a Native American burial ground. The second house, we're on a war burial ground.
And she yells, "Shut up!" And I'm going, "Jay," because we don't hear anything, and we didn't know anything was wrong. She goes, "Didn't you hear that?" We're like, "No." And she says, "You didn't hear those men and women and children screaming?" And I'm like, "No." I'm finally the last one to hear that. It woke me up from my sleep, and I could hear people running and screaming.
So this is actually a different house, which will be a different story if you guys are interested. Thank you for confirming, Mom. But alright, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.